So we're going to start off with a few questions. And the first question, the big question, is why do we teach art in schools? We think it's really important that we go back to basics and ask ourselves that question, and you ask yourselves that question. We're not just teaching art in school because it's there as part of the curriculum and somebody's telling us to. We're teaching art in school for really good reasons. So it's important that we think about those reasons. So we can think about what kind of knowledge and understanding we want to build and what kind of skills we want to nurture. And if you put those questions together, then we're actually thinking about what kinds of opportunities we want to provide. So if we think about the child's experience at school during their art lessons as a pie chart, maybe this is the art lessons taken over a whole year, a proportion of that time, ideally, we would spend with the children talking and looking at art. So this might be the art that they make or art that other artists have made, and it might be in the real physical world, or it might be looking at art digitally. But it's really important that we build those skills in articulation and reflection, and it also helps build that conceptual understanding and knowledge. So this is a big part of the new curriculum for AccessArt. And the more we can do that, the more we can get children to look at other people's art and talk about it, the more they will then bring those skills to their own work, and that reflection will feed back into their making. And then the rest of the time, they are making practically in what could be called the studio, but in the classroom. They're getting their hands dirty, they're working with materials, and they're figuring out in a very, very practical way what works for them and what they're interested in. And it's really important that we just remember that all this learning together, whether it's the articulation and reflection, or it's the practical work that they're doing, in art is really subjective and it's very experiential. And I think we sometimes forget that about art, and we really need to remember it and not be apologetic about it. That whether we're looking at art or talking about art or making art, it is experiential. So it's important we make time for children to do that. Within that, there are, of course, factual bits of knowledge. So here they are as circles. And we see the factual bits of knowledge working best when they are absolutely embedded in the practical and the verbal exploration of art. So by factual bits of knowledge, we could mean really, really specific things, like the fact that red is a primary colour and yellow is a primary colour and blue is a primary colour. And if you mix them together, you'll get secondary colours. It could be things like you can make an armature that supports a sculpture. But at the same time, as children become more and more able to take on board the concepts, we can really push what that kind of factual knowledge is. And I think this is really important, that we don't just think of factual knowledge as very, very specific and finite chunks of information, and we think of it in a broader and more holistic sense. So, for example, another kind of factual knowledge that we could embed in the children's experience and get them talking about is the fact that artists and designers add colour, texture, richness and meanings to our lives. So we're starting to get the children to think about what the purposes of art and what the purposes are of artists into their lives. So both those we would consider types of knowledge. I think many schools get a little bit too focused on the very, very precise technical skills, and it's really, really important that we widen children's understanding of the purpose of art and why it's there, and we can do that through a combination of knowledge and experience.